explain what your the sort of mentoring situation that you had and what questions that you came up with to support the student?
Oh, great. Can you just, what exactly was the question? What was the other question? Oh, feeling wobbly.
Weepy wobbly.
Our first thought was that there is a danger of becoming a counsellor with that kind of question. Mm-hmm. So we thought it would be best to just establish exactly, is the problem to do with something other than what we're intended to be mentoring for. So I think that would be the first question: is this something which is beyond what we can help you with? And I think you'd have to take it from there, really. If it is, then mentors shouldn't be in a position where they feel uncomfortable trying to counsel someone out of something which goes a bit deeper than feeling insecure about being on a course with new people. It can go deeper than that, and that needs to be referred to someone else. So that's, I think, what we discussed.
I think that's a really good observation. It's knowing where your boundaries stop and where you need to refer it on to someone else.
I mean, I've done plenty of that in my time. I wouldn't feel comfortable with someone new. The first year, next year, if they said to me, I feel really unsure about this, and it's not about the course, or it's not about starting a new venture like this, it would be,
What about if you've grasped that they're simply feeling really unconfident about their work? The normal moorings of having to stand they're doing well are kind of removed because they're in an unusual environment.
Well, then your role as a mentor is, that's you're in a position as someone of experience, having been through what they're about to go through. Then you're very well placed as a mentor, and that's what a mentor is. You're not teaching them. You're not trying to tell them something that they...
But what would you say? What would be the questions if that was the situation? What then might be the questions?
Well, I think you'd have to ask specifically. I mean, there might be a lot of things, but there'll be one thing which is above all else, and that's the thing you need to start with. The big one. So it could be something like, I don't feel like I belong in a fine art group or something. So, well, why not? What's your work about? In what context do you mean that? And then you can go from there. So it's asking those big questions first, and then just giving them time to reflect and process that information one step at a time.
And I think asking them if they've actually felt like that before within working with their art, because it might just be part of their process anyway. So.
The second group, can you tell us what your mentee, what their situation was, and what questions that you would ask them to support them?
So we have a mentee who's just had a breakthrough. They've just achieved something, but they don't realise they've achieved it. So we need to help them recognise that they've had some kind of transformational shift in their process and their artwork. So we thought that probably to open the conversation, you'd want to ask us reflective questions. So can you tell me what you think has just happened? Can you summarise for me where you are? Then we thought one way of then carrying that on might be then you probably get quite a lot of discussion. You might get quite a long explanation. You might want to then to summarise back to them. So can I just check you think X? And that could be quite short and pithy. And then to move it on to say, so taking it away from you, if I asked your classmate or your teacher or somebody else what they think had just happened in your practice, what do you think their perspective would be, to maybe try and help them think about where they are from a different angle. We were then kind of working on the assumption that they would have a light bulb moment at that point. If you don't quite get there, I'm not quite sure how you would tease it out, but then you could start and ask them, look, how do you think this other person, how is their understanding different? What does that change for you? What does that make you think? How does that change what your view of your own, this event, whatever it is that has happened? And then going on from there, okay, so what were you planning to do next? And do you think that's still appropriate given the conversation we've just had? What changes do you think you need to make? And then the sort of more simple bit is towards the end where you say, okay, so what are the next 3 things that you think you need to do? Next time we meet, should we agree that you were going to do X, Y, and Z?
and we'll
Can you tell me, or as what your mentee's situation was, and what sort of questions that you would ask them?
So our mentee was frightened but
Can you come?
Speak to the pussycats one.
It's a mouse, really. Yeah. Dead kitten. Yeah, dead kitten.
Our mentee was frightened but complacent, working within their comfort zone, and we want to rattle a cage and support them in moving forward.
What I call lost but resistant.
Okay, we haven't got
Unfortunately, I
so
have met
far
that
with
many
this.
times. Yeah.
So what we were thinking was, first of all, asking how they feel their work's going, and then asking, can you see where your work is progressing? And then what if you try to do something new? So sort of going from what if and hypothetical questions, and then asking what are the things you haven't tried you'd like to try, things like that, to try and encourage them to move forward with their practice.
And what if they say, because believe me, this is common, sorry, I'm not going to do that. No. They've got an excuse for all the different things you say, but there is a reason and an alibi why they won't do all the things that we're suggesting.
So
Because their mind is very good. You know,
you're devil's advocate, you go, what
give
would
it a
happen
step
if
up
you...
again.
Yeah, just keep sort of what have you tried, what about trying this, or...
I think a good way to do it as well is give an experience you've had yourself that they're experiencing, and say, yeah, I can understand your situation. I was frightened to make mistakes, maybe risk comparison.
But getting them to acknowledge that
Yeah.
they're afraid more
But
than
not
they
saying for them
realise.
to be, make it as if you're talking about
Yeah,
how you felt and what you did
yeah.
and the outcome.
Not to make them look a fool.
Yeah.
That's what they're going to be really scared of. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, we spend an awful lot of time in our lives trying to look good and not acknowledging that we're actually either frightened or uncertain or just plain lost.